Welcome to today's episode. Grab your headphones and get ready to dive into one of the most unexpected and shocking stories in history. Imagine, dear viewer, a world where wars were fought over bananas, where governments toppled, and where farmers lost their lives, all because of greed and ambition. Let me take you to the beginning of this incredible story. In 1899, in America, a company was founded called the United Fruit Company. This company was born from the merger of two powerful entities, the Boston Fruit Company and the Minor Fruit Company. The driving forces behind this merger were Minor Keith, an American businessman with vast commercial interests in South America, and Andrew Preston, another businessman who owned the Boston Fruit Company. United Fruit Company wasn't just about bananas. They handled all kinds of fruits. However, bananas quickly became their primary focus because they could be sold year-round, unlike seasonal fruits. Initially, the company imported bananas from Jamaica, but as the company expanded and demand skyrocketed in America, they began sourcing bananas from more regions in South America, including Costa Rica, Guatemala, Colombia, and Honduras. The company's massive profits made it a crucial part of the American economy, and the countries that supplied bananas were considered weak and impoverished by America at the time. These countries heavily relied on America to purchase their bananas. The Americans even began referring to these banana-producing regions as banana republics, because without bananas, these countries were practically nothing. Sensing this power, United Fruit Company began to exert significant influence, often dealing with these countries aggressively. If a country did something the company didn't like, they would threaten to stop buying their bananas and shift their business elsewhere. The nations, fearing economic collapse, would submit to the company's demands. But United Fruit wasn't just about importing bananas to America. They exported them globally. They bought bananas at dirt-cheap prices from these countries and sold them worldwide at 5, even 10 times the cost. Over time, United Fruit began buying up massive amounts of land in these countries. Instead of just purchasing bananas from local companies, they started growing them themselves, employing the local population as laborers under harsh conditions, making them work over 12 hours a day for meager wages. To incentivize the workers, the company would offer them shopping vouchers to use at company-owned stores. This meant that the workers were essentially returning the money they earned back to the company. Imagine the humiliation and hardship these farmers endured, yet United Fruit held the upper hand in these countries. As the company's influence grew, they became the sole supplier of bananas to many countries around the world, taking them from the poor farmers in South America and selling them in Europe, Africa, Asia, and beyond. Seeing the global demand for bananas, United Fruit began diversifying their products, creating banana flour, banana bread, and even baby food made from bananas. Their goal was to cultivate a lifelong love for bananas in consumers, ensuring their market dominance. United Fruit didn't stop there. They collaborated with doctors and scientists in America, paying them to write articles about the health benefits of bananas, further boosting their popularity. They spent vast amounts on advertising campaigns, knowing that a successful business relies heavily on strong advertising. The iconic American breakfast of cornflakes and milk was soon paired with bananas in advertisements, promising a complete nutritional meal. The company became a financial powerhouse, raking in millions of dollars while maintaining a monopoly over the banana market. Any small company that tried to compete had two choices: either become part of United Fruit and invest with them, or be crushed, unable to import or export bananas in America. United Fruit was like a giant octopus, with tentacles wrapped around the market and controlling entire countries according to their will. But one man dared to challenge this behemoth and eventually outdid them. Who was he, and how did he achieve this feat? Follow the story to the end, and I promise you'll never look at bananas the same way again. As always, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thanks to all our subscribers and non-subscribers who have liked and shared our videos. Your overwhelming support means the world to us. For our new subscribers, I encourage you to take a look around our channel and explore the other stories we've shared. You won't be disappointed. Today's story revolves around a man named Samuel Zemurray, born in 1877 in a small village on the outskirts of Russia. Growing up in an extremely poor family, Samuel's father worked as a farmer, struggling daily to provide for his family. From a young age, Samuel wasn't content with their situation. He was determined to lift his family out of poverty and into a life of prosperity. At just 14 years old, Samuel took on every job he could think of. He worked as a bike messenger, a blacksmith, a carpenter, and even helped his father on the farm. He did all of this just to help his father and ensure his family could live a decent life. Samuel saw firsthand how hard his father worked just to put food on the table. After some time, the Zemurray family decided to emigrate to America in search of a better life. They moved in with Samuel's uncle in Selma, Alabama, where his uncle owned a small fruit shop. Samuel immediately began working there and quickly proved himself to be invaluable, always punctual, diligent, and eager to learn. In no time, he had mastered the business of selling fruit. One of Samuel's regular tasks was to accompany his uncle to the port to purchase fruit for the shop. While at the port, Samuel watched as the big traders bought fruit in large quantities, while they could only afford to buy a few boxes at a time. This ignited a desire in Samuel to become one of those large-scale traders. One day, Samuel decided to delve deeper into the world of fruit trading. He noticed that bananas were a particularly profitable fruit, especially because they didn't have a specific season and were always in demand. Inspired by the success of United Fruit Company, which had popularized bananas in America, Samuel saved up all his money and headed to the port of New Orleans. At the port, he observed how bananas were brought in from Jamaica and learned about the different types. Green bananas, which had a long shelf life and sold at the highest prices. Yellow bananas, which had a shorter shelf life and were sold at local markets. And the third type, yellow bananas with black spots, which were nearing the end of their shelf life and sold at the lowest price, if they sold at all. Samuel saw an opportunity that other traders had overlooked. He realized that these black spotted bananas, which others dismissed, could be bought cheaply and quickly sold before they spoiled. With just $150 to his name, equivalent to about $3,700 today, Samuel took a risk. He bought the entire shipment of these bananas, rented a train, and rushed to sell them in the southern United States, where bananas were in high demand, and let's not forget, its shelf life was only 3 to 5 days. After that, it would start to wilt, becoming unfit for anyone except the insects and animals. This bold move was the beginning of Samuel Zemurray's incredible journey. His story is a testament to seeing opportunity where others see waste, to taking risks, and to never being satisfied with the status quo. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into Samuel's remarkable rise and how he went on to challenge the very giants of the banana industry. With ambition and passion driving him, Samuel was ready to take a gamble. He thought to himself, "It's all or nothing, my friend. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, I'll just go back to working with my uncle in the fruit shop." So, with that mindset, the train set off. But it didn't take long before he encountered a major problem. The train was moving at a snail's pace. This wasn't a car that could take shortcuts. It was bound to the tracks with a limited speed. As the first day passed and they were still on the way, Samuel started to worry. He thought, "At this rate, the bananas will spoil, and I'll be left with nothing. It looks like I've wasted all my money." But when intelligence, cunning, ambition, and a business mindset come together, nothing can stand in your way. At the first station the train stopped at, Samuel quickly got off and approached the station employee. He said, "Listen, I need a favor from you, and I'm willing to make it worth your while." The employee, intrigued, asked what he wanted. Samuel replied, "I want you to use the radio to inform the next stations along our route that there's a shipment of bananas coming in at a very low price. Tell the locals there that if they want cheap bananas, they should come to the station to buy them. And for every station that helps me out, I'll give them some cash, just like I'm giving you." The employee agreed, and the plan went off just as Samuel had hoped. However, the profit wasn't particularly high, as Samuel had to sell the bananas at a very low price just to move them quickly. That's why his earnings weren't that impressive. But Samuel, with his ambition and passion, decided that this was just the beginning. He said to himself, "From today, my business will revolve around this specific type of fruit, particularly this third type of banana, and I'm going to turn a huge profit." And so, every 2 or 3 days, he would return, repeating the same strategy. He bought bananas that were on the brink of spoiling, loaded them onto the train, and once again, at every station, he sold them. Things started to work out beautifully for him, smooth as honey. He gained a lot of customers and built a strong reputation. The local people in the southern United States even began to call him the Banana Man. He became so famous that people would wait at the station 2 hours before he arrived, just to buy those bananas at a cheap price. By 1899, Samuel had sold over 200,000 bananas, and by 1903, his sales had reached over 500,000 bananas, 500,000 in just 4 years. This was an incredible number for a man working alone, with no external help, no accountants, no HR department, nothing. He was literally doing everything by himself. By 1903, his name wasn't just big in the South. It was famous across all of America. The American public had only one thing on their minds: the Banana Man. But of course, when you're on top, you open doors that can either benefit you or bring challenges. For Samuel, it brought opportunity. Among those who heard of him was United Fruits, the biggest fruit company. They saw Samuel's impressive track record and thought, "This guy is a fierce competitor." However, since Samuel was dealing with only one type of banana, unlike United Fruits, which handled all 3 types, he wasn't considered a major threat. But still, they decided to meet with him, curious about what was going on in his mind and what his future plans were. So they met with Samuel and said, "Listen, we've got a deal that could benefit both of us." Samuel asked, "What kind of deal?" They explained, "We import bananas from abroad, and as you know, we receive 3 types of bananas. We always face a challenge with the third type, and we've heard about your good reputation for quickly moving that kind of banana. We don't care how you do it, but we're offering you a deal. We'll sell you this type of banana at a very low price, lower than anyone else in the market. This way, you can make more money." For Samuel, this was the deal of a lifetime. This was what he had been searching for. Instead of constantly going to the port, looking for suppliers, and getting different prices each time without even being able to calculate his profit, he thought, "This is perfect." So he agreed. For United Fruits, it was also beneficial. Instead of having to discard or lose money on this type of banana, they now had a ready buyer waiting at the port to take the entire shipment. The deal was a win-win for both sides. Now, Samuel had a clear direction. His prices were clear, his quantities were clear, and his business skyrocketed to a whole new level. By the age of 21, he had earned his first $100,000. Now, back then, $100,000 was worth millions today. He was a millionaire at just 21 years old. But once he tasted that money, he realized it wasn't enough. He wanted more, much more. He wanted to be stronger than United Fruits, to have a reputation that was the strongest in America. But to reach that level, he needed more than just ambition. Samuel sat down with himself and thought, "How long will I keep depending on other companies? Sometimes it's United Fruits, sometimes it's others. Why don't I become like United Fruits? Why don't I go directly to the country where the bananas come from and have my own company, just like them?" But for such a big project, he needed ships, he needed farms, or partnerships with companies in those countries, and he needed a lot of money, far more than the $100,000 he had made. Determined to see his plan through, Samuel knew he needed an investor, a partner in his company. And so, he found someone who shared his vision, a man named Ira Hoffman. Samuel explained his project to him, and after just one meeting, Ira was completely convinced. He asked Samuel, "How do you want to start? What's your plan?" Samuel replied, "First, we need to establish a licensed company in the United States." Ira said, "That's easy," and they agreed on a name, Cuyamel Fruit Company. Next, Samuel said, "We need a ship to make transportation easier." And the third most important thing was deciding which country they would start importing bananas from. There were many options in South America, but they chose Honduras. First, because of its strategic location, and second, because it had vast, fertile lands specializing in banana cultivation. And so, they began. They went to Honduras, found several companies with banana farms that exported abroad, and made deals with them. Samuel was no longer just selling bananas that were about to expire. He was now dealing with all three types. This made him a fierce competitor to United Fruits. After the first shipment, then the second, and the third, United Fruits heard about his company. This giant couldn't ignore him any longer, so they came to him and said, "We're here to congratulate you on your company. And by the way, we'd like to invest in it. A small share, just 10%. For Samuel, the deal with United Fruits was somewhat profitable at first. He knew that, through their connections, he could benefit from their extensive network in America. "All right," he said. "I have no problem with the investment. I'm on board." Everything went smoothly, like clockwork. To United Fruits, Samuel wasn't seen as a major competitor yet. While he had one ship, they had an entire fleet. Where he dealt with one country, they had multiple countries in South America. Even in Honduras, where Samuel was working, United Fruits owned land there, unlike Samuel, who was merely working with local companies. United Fruits had invested in Samuel's company just to stay connected with any emerging business. However, Samuel began to notice a troubling trend. His sales were disappointingly low. Despite importing bananas at a bargain price, his profits weren't reaching the expected numbers. He started investigating with his accountants to figure out the issue. They explained that their expenses, salaries for workers, wages for the crew transporting the ships, and taxes were consuming the profits. They were barely able to cover the employees' wages. Samuel discovered that in Honduras, taxes were exorbitant compared to those imposed on United Fruits. Curious and concerned, he realized that if this continued, he might have to shut down the company before the year was out. A quick solution was imperative. He met with his partner and expressed his concerns. "We need to change our strategy to achieve higher profits," Samuel insisted. "I trust your judgment and ideas. What do you propose?" His partner agreed to support any necessary changes. Samuel decided to fly to Honduras immediately to assess the situation firsthand. Upon arriving in Honduras, Samuel checked into the most luxurious hotel in town, aiming to connect with business people and politicians. Through these meetings, he discovered that the country was rife with corruption. Anyone who paid a bribe could have their way easily. Samuel thought, if everything is about money, then let's play the game. He met with local politicians and offered them a bribe, seeking facilitation in his banana import business. In return, he requested tax reductions, fewer restrictions on labor, and other favorable terms. Samuel even expressed his intention to buy land in Honduras. The officials assured him that as long as his dealings were clean, he could choose any land at a symbolic price. This would help the country by reducing unemployment and creating more jobs for local farmers. Samuel bought 20 plots of land to start with. "Let's see how things go," he said. He didn't stop there. Samuel wanted to be deeply involved in the production process. Instead of working from a distance, he decided to live on the farms, working directly with the farmers. He even learned the local language to better communicate with the workers. He built homes next to the farms to ensure that the workers were comfortable and could focus on their tasks. This approach led to increased productivity and a stronger bond with the local community. Samuel began producing bananas and exporting them to America at prices lower than those of United Fruits, capturing a significant share of the market. As Samuel's success grew, so did his ambitions. He wanted to expand further, buying more land and increasing production even more than United Fruits. The challenge, however, was financing this expansion. Samuel went to his partner, Ira Hoffman, with a proposal. "What do you think about buying more land and expanding our company into an empire? We could also explore neighboring countries and invest in more farms." Hoffman's response was not what Samuel had hoped for. Instead of enthusiastically endorsing the plan, Hoffman suggested that they stick to their current operations for a few years, see what profits they could generate, and then consider buying more land. Samuel, however, was in a rush. He felt that if he didn't secure the land in Honduras now, United Fruits might beat him to it. Samuel was disappointed. "If you're not on board with my vision," he said, "then maybe we won't see eye to eye." As a result, Samuel bought out Hoffman's share of the company, gaining full ownership. United Fruit's 10% stake was not available for purchase. Samuel now had the majority share and the freedom to operate as he saw fit. But with full control came the challenge of financing his plans. Every bank in America had already turned him down for loans. Desperate, Sam found himself at a crossroads, and the solution he turned to was anything but conventional. He approached the Mafia, a group that typically dealt in illicit enterprises, with a proposal. "I need funding for my project," he told them, "and I'm looking for loans." The Mafia, always eager to launder money through legitimate means, was intrigued by Sam's clean and systematic approach. After a thorough discussion, they agreed to a loan of $3 million with a staggering 50% interest rate, meaning Sam would need to repay $6 million. Despite the high cost, Sam accepted the terms, knowing this was his only option. He took the money and headed straight to Honduras, where he went on a land-buying spree. He purchased every fertile piece of land he could find, amassing 50 agricultural properties in one country. With his new assets, Sam's business flourished. Production skyrocketed, and he began to dominate the American market, leaving his competitor, United Fruits, struggling to keep up. United Fruits, unable to counter Sam's success due to his fully legal operations, began to feel the pressure. Meanwhile, Sam's hidden funding sources remained undetected. However, fortune can be fleeting. In early 1870, the Honduran government faced a severe crisis. They had taken a massive loan from Britain to build a railroad, and by 1919 the debt was still unpaid. Britain demanded repayment, but the Honduran government was unable to meet the demand. The British warned of potential conflict if the debt wasn't settled. United Fruits saw an opportunity. They swiftly intervened, sending a company representative to assure the Honduran government that the debt would be resolved. In exchange, they demanded exclusive import rights to Honduran bananas, free of taxes, while any other competitors would face heavy taxation and restrictions. United Fruit's conditions were simple. If the Honduran government wanted to avoid war and financial ruin, they had to agree to these terms. The government, desperate, agreed. As a result, Sam's business faced severe challenges. United Fruits exerted pressure, increasing taxes and imposing regulations. Sam's once thriving enterprise started to falter, and his sales in America began to suffer due to rising prices. Determined to fight back, Sam rallied local support. He met with local farmers and shared the grim news about the government's exploitation and the impact of United Fruit's dominance. He explained the details that the government had kept hidden from the people. His efforts ignited small-scale revolts. Despite these efforts, the Honduran government, using its intelligence, identified Sam as the source of dissent and warned him to cease his activities or face consequences. Undeterred, Sam sought out Manuel Bonilla, the former president of Honduras, with whom he had a close relationship. Sam proposed an audacious plan. "What if you were to return to power and restore your presidency? I'll fund the entire operation." Bonilla was initially skeptical about the feasibility and the cost of such a coup. But Sam assured him he would cover all expenses. There was only one condition. Once in power, Bonilla had to ensure that Sam's business would receive significant benefits. Sam wanted a system that would allow him to export bananas legally and without obstruction. Bonilla agreed, promising to facilitate this once he regained control. Thus, Sam's battle for dominance and survival in the market was far from over, setting the stage for a dramatic showdown between corporate giants and political power. Sam decided to rally the local people, leveraging his good rapport with them. He gathered them and posed a critical question. Would you accept a foreign government imposing its will upon you, seizing your public projects and registering them under its name? The local community was outraged and troubled by the idea. They pressed him for details, and Sam provided them with all the hidden information the government had kept from the public. Sam's revelations sparked discontent and small-scale uprisings, though these were quickly controlled by the Honduran government. However, their intelligence soon linked the unrest to Sam. The government issued a warning. If Sam continued to incite trouble, he would face severe consequences. Undeterred, Sam devised a cunning plan. He hired local agitators to further stir up resentment against the government. He then sought out Manuel Bonilla, the former president, with whom he had a solid relationship. "Here's the money," Sam told him. "Get the weapons and mercenaries you need. Take your time. Let the agitation take hold." As the dissent grew, Bonilla's army, equipped with over 1,000 soldiers and heavy weaponry, prepared for action. When the time was right, they advanced into Honduras, city by city, with the support of the local populace, who were disillusioned with the current government. Bonilla quickly gained control over the entire country. When Bonilla confronted the old government, he offered them a choice: surrender peacefully or face a devastating war that would destroy their institutions. The government, unable to withstand the pressure, conceded. Bonilla took the seat of power, and with Sam's support, he became the new president. True to his word, Bonilla's first decree was to grant Sam 20,000 acres of land and $500,000 from the central bank as compensation for his expenses during the coup. Additionally, Sam received tax exemptions and waivers on import/export fees for a period of 25 years. With these new advantages, Sam's business thrived once more. He now controlled vast tracts of land and was able to export bananas in massive quantities. He sold them at half the price he had before, a quarter of what United Fruits charged. As a result, he began to dominate the American market. United Fruits, alarmed by Sam's audacious moves and the complete overhaul of the Honduran government, realized they were dealing with a formidable adversary. They knew they had to act decisively. They began sabotaging Sam's operations, sending arsonists to burn his land and mercenaries to disrupt his farming activities. Sam quickly retaliated. Instead of merely defending his crops, he orchestrated a counterattack. He arranged for chemical agents to be applied to his banana crops, rendering them inedible and contaminating the produce. This strategy not only thwarted United Fruits' efforts, but also severely disrupted their supply chain. In this high-stakes game of corporate warfare, Sam proved he was not to be underestimated. The battle for dominance was fierce, but he was ready to fight back with every resource at his disposal. Amidst the escalating skirmishes between Sam and United Fruits, there's one particular story that underscores Sam's cunning and the challenges he faced. There was a large piece of land in Honduras that Sam wanted to acquire. However, when he tried to purchase it, he discovered that the land had no clear owner. At the same time, United Fruits was also eyeing the property and was willing to offer double the amount Sam was prepared to pay. Yet, despite their interest, even the government couldn't identify the land's owner. Then, two individuals emerged, each claiming to be the rightful owner. United Fruits, with its seasoned legal team, quickly mobilized its lawyers to investigate the true owner and secure the land through official channels. Sam, on the other hand, chose a different strategy. He approached both claimants, offered them money, and bought the land from both, ensuring that, regardless of the true owner, the land would legally belong to him. Sam didn't have time to wait for official results. He was racing against the clock. The conflict between United Fruits and Sam was far from simple. It intensified daily. The disputes escalated to the point where each side began hiring mercenaries to fight the other. This conflict turned into a full-blown civil war among the local populations, with factions aligning themselves with either Sam or United Fruits. This wasn't just a local issue, it spread to Colombia, Costa Rica, and beyond. Wherever United Fruits had land, Sam had land as well, and every territory was embroiled in the same violent disputes. The real casualty in this battle was the countries themselves. The constant clashes left a trail of devastation. Farmers were killed, and the agricultural sectors were suffering. Governments were forced to intervene. They issued warnings to both Sam and United Fruits to de-escalate the situation. Despite the attempts at calming the turmoil, the situation was dire. As a last resort, officials from these countries traveled to the United States to seek a resolution. They convened with top American leaders, expressing their plight. "We need a solution. We can't simply expel them overnight. We also benefit economically from their investments, and our countries are thriving on the revenue they bring." The tension was palpable, and it was clear that finding a resolution would be crucial, not just for Sam and United Fruits, but for the stability of entire nations caught in the crossfire. In a historic move, the U.S. government devised a solution to the escalating conflict. They summoned both Sam and United Fruits to a high-stakes meeting, insisting that neither party would leave until a satisfactory resolution was reached. The stakes were high. Tensions over banana land were threatening to spark international disputes and potentially lead to war. The U.S. government had had enough and was determined to resolve the crisis. United Fruits proposed that Sam withdraw from the countries where they were operating. Sam, however, was adamant. He argued that he had invested his own money, acquired land legally, and was not about to back down. The discussions grew heated, and it seemed like a resolution was far from reach. In response to the deadlock, the U.S. government came up with a groundbreaking solution after extensive deliberations. They proposed merging the two companies, given that their market values were comparable. The new structure would see Sam and United Fruits each holding 40% of the shares, with the remaining 20% going to the host countries. This would not only resolve the conflict, but also allow both parties to benefit from the combined resources and market presence. Despite the initial resistance, both parties recognized the inevitability of this compromise. The newly formed company, named Chiquita Brands International, emerged from this merger. Under its new identity, the company continued to operate successfully, expanding its land holdings and sales. Thus, we reach the end of today's story. The lesson to take from it is clear. Just as Sam transformed from a poor individual in the outskirts of Russia to one of the wealthiest people and a key partner in America's largest fruit import and export company, so too can persistence and ambition lead to remarkable success. Keep your aspirations high and never let anything deter you from your goals. Success will follow if you stay determined. And don't forget to like, share, and, most importantly, subscribe.